The Vraxian combat simulator had never been wrong. In 3,000 years of interstellar warfare, its predictive algorithms had analyzed every known species in the galaxy, calculating optimal tactics with 99.7% accuracy. Commander Zekther stood before the holographic display with absolute confidence, watching the tactical breakdown of the human mercenary team that had just boarded their station. 2 humans, his tactical officer reported, mandibles clicking with dismissive amusement. Standard mercenary configuration, armed with primitive projectile weapons. Zekther's compound eyes narrowed at the scan results. The male, William, carried what appeared to be an electromagnetic pulse rifle, reasonably advanced for a species barely 2 centuries into space travel. But the female, Maya, had something that made the entire command crew pause in collective confusion. 2 revolvers, actual chemical propellant revolvers with rotating cylinders. The simulator confirms, the tactical officer continued, that projectile weapons of this antiquity are ineffective against modern combat shields. Probability of mission success for the humans, 0.03%. Zekther felt the satisfaction of a hunt already won. The humans had been hired by the rebellion to extract classified data from this station. It was almost insulting that they'd sent only 2 operatives, and armed with museum pieces, no less. Deploy standard suppression protocol, he ordered. Capture them alive if possible. The Galactic Council will want to study their tactical incompetence. What Zekther didn't know, what the simulator couldn't have calculated, was that Maya had chosen those revolvers for a very specific reason. Maya's boots made no sound on the station's metallic floor. Beside her, William swept his rifle across the corridor, his tactical visor feeding him real-time data. They'd trained together for 5 years, and he'd learned to trust her instincts even when they seemed to defy logic. "You sure about this?" he whispered, eyeing the revolvers holstered at her hips. "Intel says they've got military-grade shields." Maya's dark eyes gleamed with something between amusement and predatory focus. "William, every species in this galaxy thinks the same way. They optimize, they calculate, they predict. That's their weakness. And our advantage is antique firearms." "Our advantage," she said softly, "is that we're human. We don't optimize, we improvise." The first Vraxian security team rounded the corner 3 seconds later, exactly as the station's AI predicted they would. What happened next, however, shattered every combat algorithm in the Vraxian database. William dropped to one knee, firing a controlled electromagnetic burst that disabled the team's shield generator. Standard tactic, thoroughly predictable. The Vraxians adjusted formation, their own weapons charging for return fire. Then Maya moved. She didn't draw her revolvers in the smooth, practiced motion the simulator had modeled. Instead, she twisted sideways, pulled both weapons in a cross-draw that seemed almost lazy, and fired 6 rounds in less than 2 seconds. The Vraxians' personal shields flickered blue, designed to deflect high-velocity projectiles and energy weapons. The bullets should have ricocheted harmlessly away. But Maya hadn't loaded standard ammunition. The first round was a fragment grenade that detonated on shield impact, creating a cascade failure in the energy matrix. The second was an electromagnetic pulse round that fried the backup shield generator. The third through 6th were custom-fabricated tungsten penetrators that punched through chitin armor like paper. 4 Vraxians collapsed before their neural networks registered what had happened. "That's impossible," William muttered, even as he advanced down the corridor. "The combat theory." "Failed the moment I drew these," Maya finished, already reloading with practiced ease. Each cylinder chamber held a different type of round, color-coded along the casing. "The theory assumes everyone fights the same way. Energy efficiency, predictable trajectories, standard countermeasures." She smiled, and William saw in that expression the reason the rebellion had paid an astronomical sum for her services specifically. Humans don't do standard. In the command center, Zector watched his tactical display with growing horror. The simulator was recalculating frantically, probability matrices shifting so rapidly the hologram flickered. How, his tactical officer demanded. The weapons are primitive, chemical combustion, the shields should. Silence. Zector's voice carried the weight of 3 decades of military command. He was watching something he'd never seen before, the simulator displaying an error message. Tactical prediction failure, insufficient data, human combat doctrine, classification unknown. Send everything, he ordered. All security teams. Seal bulkheads 14 through 23. I want those humans contained. But containment required predictability, and Maya had built her entire career on being unpredictable. William lost count of the security teams after the 7th engagement. Each time, the Vraxians adapted their tactics based on the previous encounter. Each time, Maya did something completely different. Against the team with reinforced shields, she used incendiary rounds that burned at temperatures the shields weren't calibrated to handle. Against the squad that tried to flank them, she ricocheted bullets off the corridor walls at angles that seemed geometrically impossible, until William realized she was calculating trajectories in her head faster than most computers. "You practiced all this?" he asked during a brief respite, while she methodically reloaded both revolvers. "Every night for 3 years," Maya admitted. "The galaxy's been using the same tactical simulators for millennia. They forgot that combat isn't just about efficiency, it's about adaptation, creativity, chaos." She slammed the cylinders shut with a sharp click that echoed down the corridor. "They forgot what it means to fight a species that evolved through constant warfare. We didn't optimize our weapons, William. We perfected the art of making any weapon work." The next security team tried using sonic disruptors. Maya shot out the overhead lights, plunging the corridor into darkness, then used muzzle flash as her only illumination. Each shot found its target with impossible precision. William had seen combat androids with less accuracy. "The data vault is 3 levels down," he reported, checking his tactical display. "But Zector just sealed every route." Maya studied the corridor, then looked up at the ventilation shaft. William followed her gaze and immediately shook his head. "Those shafts are 30 centimeters wide. We can't." She was already holstering her revolvers and pulling out a compact-shaped charge. "The simulator says we can't. That's exactly why we will." Zector received the report with disbelief bordering on panic. "They're in the ventilation system." "Impossible, Commander. Our structural analysis confirms no species of their size could navigate those passages." Yet the motion sensors told a different story. Somehow, the humans had compressed themselves through spaces that should have been physically impossible, moving through the station's infrastructure like water finding cracks in stone. The simulator had stopped offering predictions entirely. In its place, a single message pulsed. "Alert, Human Tactical Doctrine, EXCEDS Computational Modeling Capacity." For the first time in his military career, Zector felt something his species had evolved to suppress: fear. Not of death, but of the unknown, of facing an enemy that couldn't be calculated, predicted, or contained by logic. An enemy that thrived in chaos. Maya dropped from the ventilation shaft directly into the data vault, William landing beside her a moment later. The room was small, hexagonal, lined with crystalline storage matrices that pulsed with alien light. "Download everything," she ordered, covering the entrance with both revolvers drawn. William plugged his interface into the nearest terminal, and immediately alarms shrieked throughout the station. The vault door began to iris shut, a final containment protocol. 30 seconds, William reported calmly. The door was 20% closed when the first Vraxian combat drone appeared. Then another. Then 6 more, their weapons charging with lethal intent. Maya's expression didn't change. She'd planned for this too. "William, when I say duck, you duck." "What are you?" "Duck." He dropped flat as Maya fired both revolvers simultaneously. But these weren't bullets. They were micro-EMP charges that arced through the air, connecting in a cascading electromagnetic net that fried every drone's circuits simultaneously. The vault door continued closing, 15% to go. "Download complete," William announced, yanking the interface free. They dove through the narrowing gap with seconds to spare, rolled to their feet, and sprinted down the corridor as emergency bulkheads slammed shut behind them. Zekthar watched them reach the extraction point, watched their ship decouple from the station, and vanish into FTL before his weapons could acquire target lock. The entire engagement had lasted 17 minutes. His entire security force neutralized, his data vault compromised, his tactical simulator still displaying error messages. "Request a full analysis," he told his tactical officer quietly. "I want to understand what happened here." 3 days later, the report arrived. Zekthar read it alone in his quarters, and with each page, his understanding of galactic warfare shifted fundamentally. The report concluded with a single observation that would change Vraxian military doctrine forever. Human combat effectiveness does not derive from superior technology or optimized tactics. It derives from their fundamental unpredictability. They do not fight to calculated parameters. They fight to win, using any method available, improvising solutions that computational models cannot anticipate. Recommendation: do not engage human combatants with standard tactical protocols. They are incompatible with logical warfare. Zekthar thought of Maya and her revolvers, weapons that were simultaneously primitive and devastatingly effective precisely because they were primitive. Because no simulator in the galaxy had bothered to model combat with chemical propellant firearms in 3,000 years. The humans hadn't won through superior firepower. They'd won through superior creativity. He drafted his report to the Galactic Council, with a new section that would send ripples through military academies across 1,000 worlds. Addendum: human combat theory cannot be modeled or predicted. The species appears to treat warfare as an improvisational art rather than a calculated science. Extreme caution advised. Somewhere in the frontier sectors, Maya cleaned her revolvers and smiled. The galaxy was finally learning what Earth had known for millennia. Sometimes the best weapon isn't the most advanced one. Sometimes it's the one nobody expects.